Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Coombs. I'm tonight's mystery reader. Tonight we're going to be reading chapters 28 and 29. So if you want to turn to page 191, we can start with chapter 28. Okay, let's see what happens. This possum is bigger than Mama Possum and not nearly as well groomed. He has a big chunk missing from one of his ears, and as he opens his mouth to speak, the brothers can see two things: a spotted tongue and the space where two teeth are missing. They've never met their father, but possums have a thing called instinct and a thing called smell, and this animal just smells like family. Papa? Who are you calling Papa? The imposing possum growls as he leans forward, prompting Antonio to wonder if he might attack. But it turns out the old marsupial is just moving in to get a better whiff. His nostrils flare and his eyebrows arch as he takes in a deep breath. Whatever scent they give off wipes the scowl off the big possum's face. Well, 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 this is a surprise. A big unexpected turn of events, says the possum. Antonio and Amlet both nod. They aren't certain what to think. This possum, who they now can see has long, dirty feet and a matted, oily coat, appears to be sizing them up in a new way. You two are mine. I can smell that. Antonio and Amlet are relieved that he doesn't look like he's going to do something extreme, like try to eat them. Instead, their father lowers himself to the ground. I'm known around these parts as Big Poss. Amlet finds his voice. So is that what we should call you? Big Poss reaches out and grabs Amlet by the tail. He lifts him off the ground and swings him around in a circle. Of course, you of all possums should call me that. You got another idea, Furball? And with that, he lets go of Amlet, who flies through the air and lands hard. Big Poss leans over Amlet, and his hot breath makes a small cloud in the air as he asks, What do you answer to, Small Fry? The now bruised possum looks up from the ground and with a wobbly voice says, My name is Amlet. One of Big Poss's arms grips his belly and he laughs. Amlet? Did your mother name you that? Amlet doesn't answer, but Antonio pipes up. We were allowed to figure out our own names. Mama Possum is progressive. Big Poss's eyes go wide. So she's progressive, is she? What's that make you, little critter, the brainy baby? Antonio is quick to answer. We don't believe in labels or bullying. Big Poss bursts out laughing, but this time really hard. He grabs his stomach with both of his hands and he jiggles from the top of his jagged ear to the end of his thumping tail. He drops to the ground and rubs his back against the dirt. Antonio and Amlet don't know if he's scratching an itch or purposefully covering his fur in more mud or both. You young ones are a big surprise. So how you two ankle-biters feel about shredding for scraps together? Amlet perks up. Shredding for scraps? But Antonio shakes his head. We're hungry, but we've got a problem more important right now than our appetite. Big Poss stares with a blank expression. Is that so? Antonio nods. Our sister's trapped in a monster den. Instead of looking sympathetic, Big Poss is amused. How'd she get trapped? Amlet decides to stick to the basic facts. She was on top of a monster house and fell down a well. Big Poss runs his fingernails through the hair on the top of his head, which causes the fur to fluff up in a wild and interesting way. There aren't wells on top of monster houses. A well is a hole with water at the bottom. Amlet holds his ground. This was a big hole. I can't say if there was water below. Big Poss continues to work on his fur style. He runs a fingernail down the side of his scalp to form a part, and then moves a big mound of his mop forward. He's consumed with his grooming, but is able to answer. That's called a chimney. And right now, I'm thinking your mama didn't give you an education in the practical side of the theater of life. What was she doing when you were bitty babies? Amlet answers, Mama saved me from an owl attack. She taught us all kinds of important stuff. Big Poss doesn't seem impressed. Yeah, that's so? So what's the most important thing in the world, according to her? Amlet squeezes his eyes shut and forces himself to concentrate. They were taught so many things as performers. Mama said many times that they should never be afraid to make a fool of themselves by asking a question. Amlet's not sure how to say this, so he kicks Antonio in hopes that he will answer his father. Antonio's eyes meet his father's. The most important thing in the world is family. That's why we're going to help our sister. Big Pa spins around and gets right in Antonio's face. Even though his pointy teeth are broken and stained, they still look capable. Is that so? Antonio doesn't blink. Amlet doesn't move. Then Big Pa shouts, "The wheel has come full circle. I am here. Family wins." He tucks and rolls and then pops up on his feet. "You critters are with Big Pa now. Follow and learn from a seasoned performer." Amlet sputters. "But what about our sister?" Big Pa shakes his body and bits of mud fly in all directions. Most of it hits Amlet and Antonio. "We'll see what we can do about her. What's the squeak's name?" Antonio wipes some of the mud from his arms. "Appleblossom. She's Appleblossom the possum." Big Pa laughs again. "We're not following a script now. This is all ad-lib." He swings around and his hips sway from side to side. It takes a moment for the brother possums to realize that their father is singing. "Off we go, not fast, not slow, looking high, looking low, we're on a road show. Off we move, nothing to prove, looking high, looking low, we're on a road show." He clicks his tongue and somehow finds a way to clap his hands, all the while making tracks as he disappears into a hedge. Antonio and Amlet have no choice but to follow his muddy tail. Okay, now we're going to start chapter 29, so that's on page 200. Big Pa, or Big Boss, which Antonio silently decides would be a better name, emerges onto the cement path behind a row of monster houses. He stops under a streetlight, which Antonio and Amlet think is bold and even dangerous, and makes a proclamation. "This will be my first lesson as your Big Pa. Think of it as a master class in theater." Amlet can't stop himself. "Mama says to avoid lights." His father shoots him a look. "Let's not drag her into everything." Big Pa then fluffs the fur between his ears and strikes a pose. When he next speaks, he uses a deep voice with lots of projection. "Do you know why alleys are the greatest places in the world?" Antonio and Amlet don't say anything because they aren't sure what an alley is. But Big Pa answers his own question. "Alleys have garbage cans. Now stand back. This is a life lesson. Watch the maestro perform." Big Pa takes off in what looks like a run, but has a lot of wobble and not a lot of speed. The oversized marsupial crosses the alley in this strange manner of movement, grunting as he advances. Then he lowers his skull and slams head first into an enormous trash receptacle. A loud thud echoes down the quiet alley. Both Antonio and Amlet gasp in shock as the garbage container rocks and then teeters and finally falls over. But it isn't just the garbage container that goes down hard. So does Big Pa. The oversized possum is knocked right off his feet from the self-imposed head-on collision. Now he's on his back with his arms stretched out. Antonio and Amlet take off across the alley. "Are you okay?" Antonio asks. Amlet runs in a circle around the body as Big Pa's low, sad voice moans, "I'm going to ask you to do something for me." Antonio and Amlet lean close. Antonio grabs his father's front paw and holds it tight. "Anything, Big Pa." Amlet follows his example and clutches his father's back foot. Big Pa strains to speak, causing his two sons to lean even closer. "What I need you to do is important." Antonio's eyes flood with tears. "Yes, Papa." Big Pa's voice growls. "It's Big Pa, not Papa, even to you two." Antonio nods. "Yes, anything, Big Pa, just tell us." Big Pa exhales slowly and then inhales long and deep. It's a very tense moment as he makes his request. "While I'm on my back like this," his voice trails out to nothing. The two young possums wait and wait. It feels as if their hearts are breaking. Finally, Big Pa finds the strength to continue. "While I'm on my back like this, rub my belly!" Big Pa squeals as he shoots up to a sitting position. Antonio and Amlet scream. Big Pa then roars with laughter as he chokes on his words. What a performance! Am I wrong? Who's your daddy now? Who's an actor? Who's a major star? Antonio and Hamlet are speechless. Big Pa shoots them a harsh look. Applause is an accepted form of acknowledgement. Antonio and Hamlet bring their hands together and clap. It's not very enthusiastic. But Big Pa rolls over onto all fours and heads to the toppled container. The show's over. Don't just stand there with your tails flapping in the wind. Antonio and Hamlet watch as Big Pa grabs the plastic bag that's wedged inside the toppled receptacle. He looks over his shoulder and shouts, "Give me some help over here." Antonio and Hamlet scramble to his side, and the three possums pull out the lumpy black bag. Smells like a real find. Big Pa's eyes flash with excitement as he uses his teeth to rip into the thick plastic. Once he has a hole in the sack, he bellows, "The world's mine oyster!" In seconds, he's tossing things into piles and yelling out an inventory. Tea bag, ripped paper sack with splash of corn oil, pizza box with scraps of sausage, coffee grounds in dried filter, stale cereal, pizza crusts, peanut shells, wine cork, moldy cheese rind, milk carton, wax paper wrapping from Buttercube, some jelly in the bottom of a jar, eggshells, toothpick, hard noodles in tangy red sauce, greasy lamb bone, carrot tops, dried peas, muffin cup with blueberry and yellow cake stuck to the sides, eggplant top, banana skin. Then he turns to his sons as he shouts, "It's a feast!" Antonio and Hamlet look at the contents of the plastic bag, which are now scattered everywhere. Mama taught them to be very careful in their search for food. They were told to always leave an area clean and tidy. The two possums watch as their father's nose plunges into a glass jar. When he pulls it out, there is a large glob of marmalade on the end. It's bright orange with a curling rind of citrus that Big Pa's tongue instantly sweeps into his mouth. His lips stretch back into a toothy smile. "Don't be shy, little bugalugs." Antonio and Hamlet make their way to the scattered heaps, and as Big Pa devours the garbage, they search for treasure to call their own. Okay, that's the end of tonight's reading. I hope you are enjoying the book, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Good night.